Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy my video, please click the like button and share the video. It is the only way the YouTube algorithms really notice me. I will be very grateful to you. 5 signs you've met the angel of death. Number 3 will make you shriek. Scary Story is published by Scare Fiction. Chapter 1. Introduction to the protagonist. Arnaud was just an ordinary man, living an ordinary life in a small town nestled amidst rolling hills and whispering forests. His days were spent tending to his quaint bookstore, its shelves lined with volumes, old and new, each holding its own story, waiting to be discovered. But on this particular day, as the sun dipped low on the horizon and shadows lengthened, fate would weave a tale far darker than any he had ever known. The bell above the door tinkled softly as Arnaud stepped into his cozy sanctuary, the familiar scent of aged paper and dust greeting him like an old friend. He moved with practiced ease, straightening stacks and adjusting displays with a gentle touch, lost in the quiet rhythm of his work. Yet, as he rounded a corner, something caught his eye, a glimmer of gold amidst a sea of muted tones. Curiosity piqued, Arnaud approached the forgotten corner of his shop, where forgotten tomes lay dormant, their secrets waiting to be unearthed. Among them stood a weathered book, its leather-bound cover adorned with faded symbols that seemed to shimmer in the dim light. With trembling fingers, Arnaud reached out, the leather cool against his skin as he traced the ancient etchings with a sense of reverence. As he flipped through the brittle pages, words danced before his eyes, ancient verses whispered by voices long since silenced by time. Each page told a story of forgotten realms and forbidden knowledge, of dark entities that lurked in the shadows, waiting to ensnare unwary souls in their grasp. Arnaud's heart quickened with a mixture of excitement and trepidation, the weight of the words sinking deep into his bones. With each passing moment, the air grew heavier, charged with an otherworldly energy that seemed to permeate every inch of the room. Arnaud could feel the hairs on the back of his neck prickle with unease, a chill creeping down his spine as the truth of his discovery dawned upon him. This was no ordinary book. It was a gateway to realms beyond comprehension, a portal to the darkest corners of the human psyche. But even as fear gnawed at his insides, a sense of exhilaration coursed through Arnaud's veins, driving him forward into the unknown. For in that moment, he knew that his life would never be the same, that he had stumbled upon something far greater than himself, something that would test his courage and resolve in ways he could never have imagined. And so, with the weight of destiny pressing down upon him, Arnaud made a choice to embrace the darkness that lay ahead, to confront the shadows that danced at the edge of his vision. For he knew that only by facing his fears head-on could he hope to uncover the truth that lay buried within the pages of the ancient tome, and perhaps, just perhaps, emerge from the darkness unscathed. Chapter 2. The First Encounter. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows that stretched across the town square like fingers reaching out from the depths of the earth. Arnaud stood amidst the hustle and bustle of the evening market, his gaze wandering lazily over the stalls adorned with colorful wares and the chatter of vendors hawking their goods. But amidst the cacophony of voices and the buzz of activity, a sudden commotion caught his attention, a ripple in the fabric of reality that sent shivers down his spine. A crowd had gathered near the fountain at the center of the square, their murmurs rising like a distant thunder as they parted to reveal a figure lying motionless on the cobblestone pavement. Arnaud's heart quickened with a sense of foreboding, his steps faltering as he drew closer to the scene unfolding before him. And then he saw her, a young woman, her face contorted in agony, her breaths coming in ragged gasps as she clawed at the air with trembling hands. "Help me," she whispered, her voice barely more than a hoarse whisper, as she turned pleading eyes towards the heavens. "Please, someone help me." Arnaud's blood ran cold as he beheld the terror etched upon her features, a primal instinct urging him to flee from the horror unfolding before him. But even as fear threatened to paralyze him, a stubborn curiosity stirred within his breast, driving him forward into the heart of the chaos. He pushed his way through the crowd, the press of bodies parting before him, like waves crashing against the shore, until he stood mere inches from the stricken woman. And then he saw it, the shadowy figure looming over her, its form shifting and twisting like smoke in the wind, tendrils of darkness reaching out to ensnare her in its grasp. A chill swept through Arnaud's soul as he beheld the entity before him, a sense of dread washing over him like a tidal wave threatening to drag him under. He had heard tales of such creatures, of malevolent spirits that preyed upon the weak and vulnerable, feeding upon their fear and despair until there was nothing left but emptiness and despair. But even as his mind recoiled from the horror before him, a fierce determination took root within his heart, a resolve to confront the darkness that threatened to consume them all. For he knew that to turn away from the truth would be to surrender to the darkness that lurked within his own soul, and he would not allow fear to dictate his fate. With trembling hands, Arnaud reached out to the stricken woman, his touch gentle yet firm as he whispered words of comfort and solace into her ear. And as he did, he felt a surge of power coursing through his veins, a flicker of light amidst the darkness, a beacon of hope in the face of despair. For in that moment, Arnaud knew that he had been given a gift, a chance to confront the shadows that threatened to consume them all and emerge from the darkness stronger and wiser than before. And though the road ahead would be fraught with peril and uncertainty, he would not falter in his quest to uncover the truth and banish the darkness from their midst. Chapter 3: Signs of the Supernatural. The once quiet sanctuary of Arnaud's bookstore had become a battleground where the forces of darkness waged an unseen war against the fragile veil of reality. Shadows danced along the walls, their movements fluid and unpredictable, while whispers echoed in the empty aisles like the murmurs of long-forgotten spirits. Books toppled from their shelves with alarming regularity, their pages fluttering like the wings of trapped birds as they tumbled to the floor in a cacophony of sound. At first, Arnaud had dismissed these occurrences as mere coincidences, a trick of the light, perhaps, or the result of shoddy craftsmanship. But as the days turned into weeks, and the disturbances grew increasingly frequent, his skepticism began to wane, replaced by a gnawing sense of unease that settled like a weight upon his shoulders. He spent long hours poring over ancient tomes and dusty manuscripts, searching for answers amidst the cryptic symbols and faded ink. Yet the more he delved into the mysteries of the supernatural, the more elusive the truth seemed to become, slipping through his fingers like grains of sand in the desert. And then, one fateful night, as Arnaud closed up shop and prepared to retire for the evening, he felt a presence looming over him, a chill wind that sent shivers racing down his spine and set his pulse pounding in his ears. He turned slowly, his heart hammering against his ribcage, to behold a figure standing in the doorway, a shadowy silhouette wreathed in darkness, its features obscured by the shifting mists of night. For a moment, time seemed to stand still as Arnaud gazed upon the apparition before him, his breath catching in his throat as he struggled to make sense of what he was seeing. And then, with a suddenness that left him reeling, the figure vanished into thin air, leaving behind nothing but a lingering sense of dread and the echo of its laughter ringing in his ears. From that moment on, Arnaud knew that he could no longer deny the reality of the supernatural, that the forces he had once dismissed as mere fantasy were all too real, and that they were closing in on him with every passing moment. But even as fear threatened to consume him, a fierce determination took root within his heart, a resolve to uncover the truth and banish the darkness from his midst, no matter the cost. And so, with a sense of urgency burning in his veins, Arnaud set out on a quest to unravel the mysteries of the supernatural, to confront the shadows that lurked in the darkest recesses of his bookstore. For he knew that only by facing his fears head-on could he hope to emerge from the darkness unscathed, and that the fate of the world itself hung in the balance. Chapter 4. Confronting the Unknown. Arnaud's footsteps echoed through the dimly lit streets of the town as he made his way towards the home of the enigmatic historian, a figure rumored to hold the key to unlocking the secrets of the supernatural. The night air was thick with a palpable sense of unease, the shadows dancing like specters in the flickering light of the street lamps. As he approached the historian's residence, Arnaud's heart quickened with anticipation, his mind buzzing with questions and uncertainties. What secrets lay hidden within the walls of this mysterious abode? And would the answers he sought bring him closer to uncovering the truth about the malevolent entity that stalked the town? With a deep breath, Arnaud knocked on the door, the sound reverberating through the silence like a thunderclap in the night. Moments later, the door creaked open to reveal a figure cloaked in darkness, their features obscured by the shifting shadows. "Arnaud," came a voice from within, its tone low and raspy like the whisper of the wind through autumn leaves. "I have been expecting you." Stepping into the dimly lit foyer, Arnaud found himself face to face with the town's enigmatic historian, a figure shrouded in mystery, their eyes gleaming with an otherworldly wisdom that sent a shiver down his spine. "You seek answers, do you not?" the historian said, their voice a mere whisper in the darkness. "Answers to questions that lie buried in the depths of history, waiting to be uncovered." Arnaud nodded, his throat dry with anticipation. "I seek the truth," he replied, his voice barely more than a hoarse whisper. "The truth about the entity that haunts our town, that preys upon the innocent without mercy." The historian's eyes gleamed with a fierce intensity, their gaze piercing through Arnaud like a dagger through the heart. "The truth is a double-edged sword, Arnaud," they said, their voice tinged with a note of warning. "It has the power to set you free, but it can also bind you in chains of darkness from which there is no escape." But Arnaud was undeterred, his resolve as unyielding as the stone upon which the town was built. "I will not be swayed from my path," he declared, his voice ringing with determination. "I will confront the unknown, no matter the cost." With each revelation that followed, Arnaud's resolve only strengthened, his determination to confront the malevolent entity lurking in the shadows, burning brighter with each passing moment. For he knew that only by delving into the darkest corners of the town's history could he hope to uncover the truth and perhaps, just perhaps, banish the darkness that threatened to consume them all. Chapter 5. The Second Victim. The news spread like wildfire through the tight-knit community, igniting a wave of fear and paranoia that swept through the streets like a storm. Another resident had fallen victim to the Angel of Death's cruel embrace, their life snuffed out in the blink of an eye, leaving behind nothing but questions and shattered dreams. Arnaud felt a cold knot of dread settle in the pit of his stomach as he listened to the whispers that echoed through the town square, his heart heavy with the weight of sorrow and uncertainty. How many more would fall victim to the entity's insatiable hunger before he could uncover the truth and put an end to its reign of terror? Determined to find answers, Arnaud set out to investigate the latest victim's demise, his footsteps echoing through the deserted streets as he made his way towards the scene of the tragedy. The air was heavy with the scent of fear, the shadows dancing like specters in the fading light of day as he approached the victim's home. The door creaked open with a mournful groan, revealing a scene of utter devastation within. Furniture lay overturned, belongings scattered haphazardly across the floor as though the very fabric of reality had been torn asunder. And there, lying amidst the wreckage, was the lifeless form of the victim, a young woman, her face frozen in a mask of terror, her eyes staring blankly into the abyss. Arnaud's heart clenched with sorrow as he beheld the tragedy before him, a sense of helplessness washing over him like a tidal wave threatening to drag him under. But even as despair threatened to consume him, a flicker of hope stirred within his breast, a determination to uncover the truth and put an end to the suffering that plagued his town. With each passing moment, Arnaud's investigation led him deeper into the heart of darkness, where secrets lay hidden beneath layers of deception and deceit. And it was there, amidst the shadows and the whispers, that he stumbled upon a clue, a thread of truth woven into the tapestry of lies that threatened to unravel the very fabric of reality. Following the trail of breadcrumbs, Arnaud found himself standing before the door of a reclusive widow, a figure rumored to hold the key to unlocking the secrets of the supernatural. With a sense of trepidation, he knocked upon the door, the sound echoing through the stillness like a drumbeat in the night. Moments later, the door creaked open to reveal the widow standing before him, her eyes gleaming with an otherworldly wisdom that sent a shiver down Arnaud's spine. "You seek answers, do you not?" she said, her voice a mere whisper in the darkness. "Answers to questions that lie buried in the depths of the past, waiting to be uncovered." Arnaud nodded, his throat dry with anticipation. "I seek the truth," he replied, his voice barely more than a hoarse whisper. "The truth about the angel of death and the darkness that threatens to consume us all." The widow's eyes gleamed with a fierce intensity, her gaze piercing through Arnaud like a dagger through the heart. "The truth is a double-edged sword," she said, her voice tinged with a note of warning. "It has the power to set you free, but it can also bind you in chains of darkness from which there is no escape." But Arnaud was undeterred, his resolve as unyielding as the stone upon which the town was built. "I will not be swayed from my path," he declared, his voice ringing with determination. "I will uncover the truth, no matter the cost." And with those words, Arnaud embarked on a race against time to unravel the secrets that lay hidden within the widow's home, knowing that the fate of the town, and perhaps even the world itself, hung in the balance. Chapter 6. Descent into Darkness. Nightmares plagued Arnaud's restless sleep, twisting and writhing like serpents in the darkness, coiling around his mind and suffocating him with their icy grip. Images of death and despair danced behind closed eyelids, their tendrils seeping into every crevice of his subconscious, poisoning his thoughts with their malevolent whispers. Each night brought a new torment, a new horror to confront as Arnaud descended deeper into the abyss of his own mind. He tossed and turned upon sweat-soaked sheets, his breath coming in ragged gasps as he fought against the onslaught of darkness that threatened to consume him whole. But even in the midst of his despair, a glimmer of defiance burned within Arnaud's breast, a stubborn refusal to surrender to the nightmares that haunted him, to the fears that threatened to tear him apart from the inside out. For he knew that only by confronting the darkness head-on could he hope to emerge from the shadows unscathed, his spirit unbroken by the trials that lay ahead. And so, with a sense of grim determination, Arnaud delved deeper into the occult, seeking answers amidst the chaos and confusion that surrounded him. He pored over ancient tomes and forbidden texts, their pages filled with cryptic symbols and arcane incantations that sent shivers racing down his spine. With each passing day, Arnaud's grip on reality began to falter, his mind teetering on the brink of madness as the boundaries between dreams and reality blurred beyond recognition. He battled inner demons that threatened to consume him whole, their whispers echoing in the darkest recesses of his mind, taunting him with visions of his own demise. But still, Arnaud pressed on, driven by a sense of purpose that burned brighter than any flicker of hope amidst the darkness. For he knew that only by confronting his fears could he hope to banish the nightmares that haunted him, to emerge from the depths of despair stronger and wiser than before. And so, with each step into the unknown, Arnaud faced his demons head-on, his courage unyielding in the face of adversity. For he knew that only by embracing the darkness could he hope to find the light that lay hidden within, to emerge from the shadows reborn and renewed, a beacon of hope in a world consumed by fear. Chapter 7. Facing Fear. Shadows danced like malevolent specters in the dimly lit confines of Arnaud's bookstore, their tendrils reaching out like fingers of death to ensnare him in their icy embrace. He stood amidst the shifting darkness, his heart pounding in his chest like a drumbeat, echoing through the silence, his breath coming in ragged gasps as he grappled with the terrifying reality of his situation. For days, Arnaud had been haunted by visions of death and despair, his mind consumed by the relentless onslaught of nightmares that threatened to tear him apart from the inside out. He knew that he was teetering on the brink of madness, his sanity hanging by a thread as he struggled to make sense of the chaos that surrounded him. But even in the face of overwhelming fear, a stubborn defiance burned within Arnaud's breast, a refusal to surrender to the darkness that threatened to consume him whole. For he knew that to turn away from the truth would be to condemn himself to a fate worse than death, to live out his days in blissful ignorance while the world crumbled around him. And so, with a sense of grim determination, Arnaud pressed forward into the unknown, his footsteps echoing through the empty aisles of his bookstore like the tolling of a funeral bell. With each step, he felt the weight of the darkness pressing down upon him, its suffocating embrace threatening to crush him beneath its relentless weight. But still, Arnaud pressed on, driven by a sense of purpose that burned brighter than any flicker of hope amidst the darkness. He knew that he was walking a razor's edge, teetering on the brink of madness with each passing moment, but he refused to let fear dictate his fate. As he delved deeper into the mysteries of the occult, Arnaud found himself torn between the safety of ignorance and the allure of forbidden knowledge. He knew that the path he had chosen was fraught with peril, that the truths he sought were darker and more terrifying than anything he had ever imagined. But still, he pressed on, driven by an unyielding thirst for understanding, a hunger for knowledge that gnawed at his insides like a ravenous beast. For he knew that only by confronting his fears head-on could he hope to banish the darkness that threatened to consume him, to emerge from the shadows stronger and wiser than before. And so, with each passing day, Arnaud faced his demons with a courage born of desperation, his spirit unbroken by the trials that lay ahead. For he knew that the battle against the darkness was far from over, and that only by confronting his fears could he hope to emerge victorious, a beacon of hope in a world consumed by fear. Chapter 8. Race Against Time. Time seemed to slip through Arnaud's fingers like grains of sand, each passing moment more precious than the last, as he pored over ancient texts and arcane symbols in search of a means to thwart the angel of death. His days blurred together in a haze of sleepless nights and endless research, his mind consumed by the desperate urgency of his quest. The pages of the ancient tomes whispered secrets long forgotten by the passage of time, their words a cryptic puzzle waiting to be deciphered. Arnaud traced his fingers over the faded ink, his heart pounding in his chest as he sought out the key to unlocking the mysteries that lay hidden within. But even as he delved deeper into the occult, the specter of the Angel of Death loomed large in his mind, a constant reminder of the darkness that threatened to consume them all. With each passing day, the stakes grew higher, the weight of responsibility pressing down upon Arnaud's shoulders like a leaden cloak. Yet, still, he pressed on, driven by an unyielding determination to protect those he loved from the malevolent entity that stalked the shadows. For he knew that the town's fate hung in the balance, that the lives of its residents rested upon his shoulders alone. And so, with a sense of grim resolve, Arnaud pushed himself to the brink of exhaustion, his days blending together in a relentless blur of research and investigation. He sacrificed sleep and sustenance in pursuit of his goal, his mind consumed by a single-minded focus that left no room for doubt or hesitation. But as the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, Arnaud felt the tendrils of despair creeping into his soul, threatening to extinguish the flicker of hope that burned within him. The task before him seemed insurmountable, the answers he sought forever out of reach. And with each passing day, the darkness seemed to grow stronger, its grip tightening around his throat like a noose. Yet, still, Arnaud refused to surrender to despair, his spirit unbroken by the trials that lay ahead. For he knew that to falter now would be to condemn the town and all those he held dear to a fate worse than death. And so, with renewed determination, he redoubled his efforts, his resolve as unyielding as the stone upon which the town was built. For Arnaud knew that the battle against the Angel of Death was far from over, and that only by pushing himself to the limits of his strength and beyond could he hope to emerge victorious. And so, with each passing moment, he fought on, his spirit undaunted by the darkness that threatened to consume him, his determination a beacon of hope in a world consumed by fear. Chapter 9. The Final Revelation. Arnaud sat amidst the flickering candlelight, the ancient tome spread open before him like a gateway to another world. His fingers traced the faded ink upon the pages, his mind racing as he pieced together the fragments of knowledge that had eluded him for so long. And then, in a single moment of clarity, the truth was revealed, a revelation that shattered Arnaud's perception of reality, unveiling a web of deceit and betrayal woven through generations. He felt as though the ground had been ripped out from beneath him, leaving him suspended in a void of uncertainty and despair. The secrets he had uncovered painted a picture of a town steeped in darkness, its foundations built upon a legacy of lies and deception. The Angel of Death was merely a pawn in a larger game, a puppet controlled by unseen hands that sought to manipulate the course of fate for their own nefarious purposes. Bound by fate to confront the Angel of Death, Arnaud grappled with the weight of destiny as he prepared for the ultimate showdown. His mind raced with 1,000 questions, each more pressing than the last, as he struggled to come to terms with the truth that lay before him. But even as doubt gnawed at his insides, a sense of grim determination took root within Arnaud's breast, a refusal to be cowed by the forces that sought to bend him to their will. For he knew that the fate of the town, and perhaps even the world itself, hung in the balance, and that only he had the power to tip the scales in their favor. With each passing moment, the anticipation grew, the tension mounting like a coiled spring ready to snap. Arnaud could feel the weight of destiny pressing down upon him, driving him forward into the heart of the storm with a sense of purpose that burned brighter than any flicker of hope amidst the darkness. And so, with a heavy heart and a steely resolve, Arnaud set out to confront the Angel of Death, his footsteps echoing through the deserted streets of the town as he made his way towards the ultimate showdown. He knew that the road ahead would be fraught with peril and uncertainty, but he refused to waver in his determination to see justice served and the darkness banished from their midst once and for all. Chapter 10. Showdown with the Supernatural. Darkness descended upon Arnaud like a suffocating blanket, wrapping around him with a cold embrace that sent shivers racing down his spine. He stood before the Angel of Death, its form shrouded in shadow, its eyes gleaming with malevolent intent as it loomed over him like a specter of doom. Each heartbeat echoed like a drum in the silence, the sound reverberating through the empty streets as Arnaud faced his greatest challenge yet. The weight of the world pressed down upon him, threatening to crush him beneath its relentless weight. But still he stood tall, his spirit unbroken by the darkness that threatened to consume him. With every fiber of his being, Arnaud unleashed a torrent of strength and courage, his willpower a beacon of light amidst the encroaching shadows. He refused to cower in the face of oblivion, his resolve as unyielding as the stone upon which the town was built. The Angel of Death advanced, its movements sinuous and graceful, like a predator stalking its prey. Arnaud felt a surge of primal fear course through his veins, but he refused to back down, his eyes blazing with determination as he prepared to face his fate head-on. As the two clashed, the air crackled with energy, the sound of their struggle echoing through the darkness like thunder in the night. Arnaud fought with every ounce of strength he possessed, his fists striking out against the entity's shadowy form with relentless fury. But the Angel of Death was a formidable opponent, its powers beyond comprehension, its will unyielding in the face of adversity. With each blow, Arnaud felt his strength waning, his resolve beginning to falter as the darkness threatened to overwhelm him. And yet, even as despair threatened to consume him, a glimmer of hope flickered within Arnaud's breast, a spark of defiance that refused to be extinguished. With a primal roar, he summoned forth the last vestiges of his strength, unleashing a final desperate assault against the Angel of Death. For a moment, time seemed to stand still as the two locked in a battle of wills, their struggles echoing through the darkness like a symphony of chaos. And then, with a final, triumphant cry, Arnaud emerged victorious, the darkness vanquished by the light of his indomitable spirit. As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, Arnaud stood amidst the ruins of his town, his breath coming in ragged gasps as he surveyed the aftermath of the battle. The Angel of Death lay defeated at his feet, its shadowy form dissolving into nothingness as the first rays of sunlight pierced the darkness. With a heavy heart and a weary soul, Arnaud turned away from the scene of his victory, knowing that the battle against the supernatural was far from over. But still, he walked with his head held high, his spirit unbroken by the trials that lay ahead, for he knew that as long as there was light in the world, there would always be hope. Chapter 11. Redemption and Resolution. Victorious but scarred, Arnaud emerged from the shadows, his spirit tempered by the crucible of adversity. The battle against the Angel of Death had taken its toll, leaving him battered and bruised. But still, he stood tall, his resolve unbroken by the trials that had tested him to his very limits. As he emerged from the darkness, Arnaud found himself surrounded by the familiar sights and sounds of his town, the streets alive with the hustle and bustle of everyday life. But beneath the surface, he could sense a change, a shift in the air that spoke of hope renewed, of a future reclaimed from the brink of despair. With each step, Arnaud felt the weight of his burden lifting from his shoulders, replaced by a sense of peace and tranquility that he had not felt in what seemed like an eternity. The scars of battle would always remain, etched into his flesh as a reminder of the trials he had faced, but they were a small price to pay for the victory he had achieved. And as he made his way through the town, Arnaud found himself drawn towards the familiar warmth of home, where loved ones awaited him with open arms. Their unwavering support was a beacon of light in the aftermath of chaos, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there was still hope to be found. As he entered the familiar confines of his home, Arnaud was greeted by the smiling faces of those he held dear: his family, his friends, his neighbors, all gathered together to celebrate his triumph over the forces of darkness. Their cheers rang out like a chorus of angels, lifting his spirits and filling his heart with joy. But amidst the celebrations, Arnaud could not shake the feeling of melancholy that lingered in the depths of his soul. The memories of those who had fallen in the battle against the angel of death weighed heavily upon him, their sacrifices a testament to the price of victory. And yet, even in the face of loss, Arnaud found solace in the knowledge that their sacrifice had not been in vain, that their memory would live on in the hearts of those who had loved them, a guiding light to lead them through the darkness. As the night wore on and the celebrations continued, Arnaud found himself surrounded by the warmth and laughter of his loved ones, their presence a balm to his weary soul. And as he looked around at the faces gathered around him, he knew that no matter what trials lay ahead, he would always find strength and courage in the embrace of those he held dear. Chapter 12. The Aftermath. Life slowly returned to a semblance of normalcy in the wake of the battle against the angel of death. The once quiet streets of the town bustled with activity once more, the laughter of children echoing through the air like music. But for Arnaud, the scars of his harrowing journey remained, silent testament to the horrors he had faced and the price he had paid for victory. As he went about his daily routine, Arnaud found himself haunted by memories of the past, the faces of those who had fallen in battle, their voices echoing in the recesses of his mind. Their sacrifices weighed heavily upon him. And yet, amidst the echoes of the past, Arnaud found a newfound sense of purpose, a resolve to cherish each moment as a precious gift in the tapestry of existence. He had stared into the abyss and emerged victorious, his spirit tempered by the crucible of adversity, and he would not squander the second chance he had been given. With each passing day, Arnaud found himself drawn towards the simple pleasures of life, the warmth of the sun on his face, the sound of laughter in the air, the gentle embrace of loved ones. These were the moments that made life worth living, the moments that reminded him of the beauty and fragility of existence. And as he walked the streets of his town, Arnaud found himself reaching out to those in need, offering a helping hand or a listening ear to those who sought solace in the aftermath of chaos. For he knew that the scars of battle ran deep and that healing could only come through kindness and compassion. But even as he looked towards the future with hope and optimism, Arnaud knew that the shadows of the past would always linger at the edges of his consciousness. The memories of the battle against the angel of death would never fade completely, their imprint forever etched into his soul. And yet, in spite of the darkness that threatened to consume him, Arnaud refused to be defined by the horrors he had faced. For he knew that true strength lay not in the absence of fear, but in the courage to face it head-on, to embrace the challenges that lay ahead with a steadfast resolve. And so, as he stood amidst the hustle and bustle of everyday life, Arnaud vowed to live each day to the fullest, to cherish each moment as if it were his last. For he knew that the future was uncertain, and that the only way to truly honor the sacrifices of those who had fallen was to embrace the gift of life with open arms and to never take a single moment for granted.